I got invited to go out to the Middle East to help to cover Wilder's fight and Joshua's fight. And I turned it down. You want to know why I turned it down? I turned it down because I felt like it was a setup. Not for nothing, but I did. I felt as though I was highly critical of a boxing match between Fury and Ngannou. And possibly it's because I had that one wrong, and possibly it's because I was so positive about it when it was done. Either way, I felt something was amiss, and I turned this down. But I watched a clip of it that was going around the internet, and it was very provocative, in my opinion. I mean, Conor McGregor was there. Conor McGregor was there, and he was in the front row. And he was talking about boxing. He was talking about boxing Manny Pacquiao specifically. And Conor, the first time that he went, and that would be Ngannou versus Fury, part 1, said that he had dinner with His Highness, who Pacquiao was on one side and Conor was on the other, and His Highness said, I want you two to box. Can we do it? And Conor said, yeah, and Pacquiao said, yeah. And apparently they've progressed that down the line a little bit, but Pacquiao has put up a giant whoa, stop until they can get the weight class situated. Now, I really liked that Conor was hungry for the fight and that he took it to you, the people, right? Whenever a guy is smart, and Conor's very smart at doing this, you have to have the mandate of the masses. You'll get the fighters that think they need to have a ranking. You'll get the fighters that think they've got to win X amount of fights. You'll get the fighters that think that they have to have a promise or a number one contendership. The number one thing that you need, and really the only thing that you have to have, because opposite this you have nothing, is the mandate of the masses. So Conor came to you with his problem and his proposition. And the problem and the proposition were one and the same. I want Manny Pacquiao and I want a contest because I'm hungry and I'm ready. Now, meanwhile, when he comes back stateside, he doesn't talk so much about the boxing and the silliness, which is exactly what that is. He talks about doing MMA, and he talks about doing it opposite Michael Chandler or anybody else. And Conor is getting a little bit misunderstood. When he comes out with a message of, I will fight anybody at any weight and I don't care, that is largely being misunderstood by the North American audience, by your ears, as to think he's trying to not fight Chandler. And that isn't his message. Conor's message is, I will fight anybody, including Chandler, but if there's any delay in Chandler for any reason, weight, venue, training camp, excuse, don't bring me into that. I will take on anybody. That is his message, and the message, it gets a little bit lost in translation, so I thought I would clear that up for you. Now, there's a couple of things I like. I like to see the hunger in Conor McGregor. I like the way his body looked, quite frankly. Like, we had to read all of these headlines about Conor and steroids for all of these months. Have you seen Conor now? And he's back in the pool. He's doing the pool. He's just as beautiful now as he was back then. He just does more interviews with his shirt on than with his shirt off. So where did that narrative go? I mean, all these accusations about Conor, and now that you see they're not true, now that you see that body is clean, where's the pat on the back? Good job, Conor. Where's that? I mean, it really is hard to look good when you're not training. Imagine how difficult it is just for you, but on a human level. You all would like to look good, do you? And I'm not putting you down, I'm just asking you a question. You'd like to look a certain way, do you look that way? Okay, now imagine that you're on one leg. Would you even think it possible? Would you even think that you have the discipline and the hard work and the understanding of physiology enough that with one leg, which limits all sorts of mobility and exercises, that you could be so disciplined and work so hard that you would have people saying you were cheating because you look so good? So then once you're healed and you find out you're not, where's the congratulations and good job to Conor? Because now we are starting to see, wow, it did take a level of focus, didn't it? It did take a level of discipline. And he did bite down on that mouthpiece, didn't he? I mean, one thing about fighters, and they lose it when their careers are over, it's like they go brain dead. I come from the world of wrestling. The hardest worker, they're goal set, they're driven, they're motivated, and they go brain dead when their wrestling career comes over. Like when you meet somebody and they're real successful in life or in business, they're a great father, great husband, great in business, you generally don't see them with a cauliflower ear and find out they used to be really good wrestlers. For some reason, wrestlers go brain dead. The hardest workers out there. They'll get up early, they'll put in more hours, they're driven, they'll write a goal down, they'll have the courage to do it, they'll set all of these baby steps to help to obtain the goal, and when all of it's done, they just forget how to do it all. And you will see these fighters that do the same thing. Because in real life, there's not a lot of situations where you're going to need to know very many fighting techniques. But mentally, you've got to know how to get up when you stay down. And it turns out that Conor passed that test. but nobody wanted to tell him good job. Just wanted to accuse him for the last year of doing something nefarious. Now, I bring to you, well, I love all of this. The one part that it gives me a little bit of pause, is the idea of wanting to box while wanting to do MMA. We've never seen that work. And that is one of those things that's an experiment and that needs tested. It's an experiment that needs tested, and Conor went first. First off, he had the courage that nobody else had until he went out and did it. And secondly, he had the discipline and the opportunity, and he got those things to find themselves. The discipline and the opportunity and the willingness all found themselves, and he got in the ring with Floyd Mayweather. But we did see coming out the backside of that something that was very clear, which is those two sports and their training are very different. And they don't go hand in hand the way that he had hoped that they would. Hey, I'm going to put 5 months on hold. I'm going to sharpen my boxing. And in a worst case scenario, when I get done with Floyd, my boxing is going to be better than it was before I went in. Like, logically, it made sense, but in practice, we found out that wasn't true. So I love this hunger by Conor, I've got to tell you. And I love this fact that he is willing to come out as the sport's biggest star and say, I can't get a deal done. In two different directions, I can't get a deal done. I am the highest paid MMA fighter of all time. And in MMA, you will get what you earn. And people don't like that. They think that somebody should be like boxing where they're willing to lose a ton of money. In MMA, you will get what you earn. But he was also amongst the highest paid in boxing. He got a paycheck in boxing that to this day is bigger than anything Mike Tyson ever received, that to this day is higher than anything Lennox Lewis ever received, that to this day is higher than anything Sugar Ray Leonard ever received, that to this day for one night is higher than Canelo Alvarez has ever received. And he's openly telling us, I can't get a fight in either. And he's still the biggest draw. And it's just an interesting juxtaposition. I like it. I like it about him that he's hungry. I like it out there that he's out and going for it. The one thing where I got to push back is the one guy that should know better than anybody, because the experiment was based on him, that you can't do both at the same time, at least not well, is Conor. I don't think that he would disagree with me privately. Privately, I think he'd go, Chael, you're spot on. Publicly, he can't for obvious reasons. But I do share with you, I like him to have one. And whether it's boxing or whether it's MMA, but I like him to have one. And I would like it to all be in. All chips on. You get to pick, Conor. You get to pick what it is. You get to pick the weight class. You even get to pick the opponent because you have that kind of power, but you got to beat him. You can't pick the weight, you can't pick the venue, and you can't pick the rule set if you can't win. I think that we could all agree on that. And I think it's a very tough spot to be eyeing two different ponds at the same time. But when you're looking at two different pools, there's a reason he's sitting in the very front row. He's a big deal. But you got to get one right. You got to get one right. And to get one right, you got to forget the other one. You got to go all in. So which is it? Is it Pacquiao in boxing? Or is it Chandler in MMA?